Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy, Kenny, bringing you another spoiler filled review as we usually do over here at Fandom Frequency. Make sure you click that like and subscribe before you get up out of here at the end of the video. It helps the show immensely and helps us get so many opportunities to reach more dope nerds like yourselves, man. So make sure you click that stuff. And thank you to all the people out there that have been showing so much love to our podcast feed, man. Spotify, Deezer, Google, we're all over the place. Make sure you check out our podcast feed. We have plenty of episodes just like this one and some cool longer form content in the works as we speak. That's going to be on there real soon, as well as over here on the YouTube. So make sure you go over there and check out the videos. And if you're over here on the podcast feed, thank you for listening. And vice versa. Thank you for watching, but make sure you go over to the podcast feed, click the download. We're getting near 200, so pretty big milestone in my opinion for just getting out the gate. So thank you so very much. With no further ado, let's get into the review, the meat and potatoes, what you came for, what you clicked the play for. Man, messing up my words all the time, yo. But we're talking about James Wan's latest horror flick that blew the fuck out of my mind. I'm talking about Malignant, the latest flick he just dropped in theaters and HBO Max. What do I think about this movie? I absolutely dug the hell out of this movie, man. I enjoyed it for the most part from top to bottom, man. I gotta say, my boy James Wan didn't really disappoint too much with this movie, man. I wasn't really sure what to expect from the trailers. I only watched the first initial trailer just to get an idea of what my boy was cooking up after Aquaman in between all this time. So I just wanted to get a little taste of what he was kind of doing, which did fill me in a little bit with the overall idea of the character being able to see these different murders happen as they're going down. You know what I'm saying? It has to try to tell the cops and they don't believe her, obviously. So we know from the trailer there's some supernatural stuff going on. So I was wondering in the back of my mind, is this more The Conjuring? Is this more Insidious, where it is supernatural, but it is a little more cerebral and a little more unique in its approach? I would like to say this leans more on Insidious, but it takes some of the most what the fuck elements of the original Saw from '04. He put that in a blender and just went ham with the giallo influences of 70s Italian horror films that really went on to highly influenced slasher flicks, which is another influence he's pulling from, and just overall crime thrillers as well, as he's done in his work in the past. Dead Silence, Saw, Death Sentence, which is a pretty cool thriller y'all should check out if you haven't already. But yeah, man, so he took a lot of the things he's known for doing and things he's done before, but definitely found new elements and new tropes to play with from like 90s horror and different things like that. And the product that he came up with, the film and the story that he's telling, is pretty freaking crazy, y'all. So getting into the main character, Madison, aka Emily, played by Annabelle Wallis, who I have seen in some other movies before and was never blown away by her acting, and I still don't think she's on some Oscar level shit here, but it's definitely a very good performance and I think very serviceable for this role because she has to hit a lot of different emotions, you know what I'm saying? From kind of being a little crazy towards the second and third act when you see what's really going on, and just in the first act of her kind of being a victim of abuse with her boyfriend and all those kind of cliches, but she played them very earnestly and I think played it well, and just getting into all the creepy elements of going into her past and her having amnesia and not remembering using what happened in her past to create these weird visions and this imaginary friend, as her family thinks, called Gabriel, who has been kind of popping up throughout her life back in her childhood and was influencing her to do bad things, voices in her head and whatnot. So it was pretty cool to see Annabelle Wallace really have to like really deliver on a performance here, and she really went for it, man. And this movie gets pretty campy and pretty trippy at times, and she still goes for it, man. So I got to give her some credit. Annabelle Wallace, you did a good job on this one, man. I really think so. I know some people have been kind of knocking her performance a little bit, but honestly, for the movie she's in and for the tone that James Wan is going for, I think the performance he pulled out of her matches very well to it, in my personal opinion. That's just me. But yeah, man, and just getting into the overall just positives of the movie, man. I gotta say, this film has great pacing from the crazy ass opening sequence when you get to see, Gabriel, as it's so called, and some crazy experiment going on, which does turn out to be Gabriel, the parasitic twin or whatever, but we're gonna get more into that. But yeah, man, when you see all that crazy shit going on in the beginning and him killing off all these people, and it's just going ham, and it's just ultra Evil Dead vibes going on with the way he's moving the camera. My boy James Wan always has really cool camera work in his films, and I think he definitely brought a lot of that Sam Raimi energy from Evil Dead in this, but it works really good in this sequence, man. And just the opening title sequence in general is freaking awesome, and just the way that the kills go down in this movie, my boy James Wan ain't pulling no punches whatsoever. This film goes for the carnage candy. You know what I'm saying? So you got a weak stomach, you ain't handling the gore too well. This may not be for you, or you better look away, because we snapping bones, we stabbing skulls, we're doing brain surgeries and shit. We're stuffing brains inside of other brains, man. We're getting crazy with this shit. So, if you know what I'm saying, if you got a weak constitution with this shit, do not watch this. Trust me. But if you can handle the carnage candy like your boy, then I definitely recommend checking this thing out, man. And going from there, the overall vibe of the killer Gabriel, while it isn't the most iconic thing I've ever seen in horror movies or anything like that, it's definitely a unique character that will stick in your mind, pun intended, and you will be thinking about after you've seen this flick, man. So I gotta say, overall, for what they were going for with Gabriel and trying to create kind of this new killer that could kind of go on to spawn a franchise in that usual James Wan style, if this makes enough money. You know what I'm saying? But I thought Gabriel overall, the killer as a character, was pretty interesting, especially going into the big third act reveal. I'm just going straight for the shit right there, man. Yo, the whole reveal of it being a parasitic twin that a conjoined twin that grew on the backside of Emily's body, Annabelle Wallace's character, and the way that it's parasitic and feeds on her, and the whole character arc with Emily's character having several miscarriages in recent months. And pretty much what happened and what the reveal is there is that Gabriel, the killer, the parasitic twin in the back of her head there, was feeding on the fetuses inside of her womb, man, and was feeding on the children and was feeding on her over time to fully take control and be able to fully harness her brain and just fully sit in the driver's seat all the time, almost like Hulk in Endgame. In Thor Ragnarok, you're in the back seat, motherfucker. Fuck off, Bruce Banner. I'm driving this bitch. It's the Hulk. So it's pretty much like that. And the whole reveal of him controlling her mind and that being the reason she is seeing these visions of these murders go down, I definitely didn't predict. I did predict her being directly involved with the murders in the sense that either A, she's doing it and has a split personality kind of thing or something like that, or B, what I was really thinking was that she had a evil twin that looked just like her going out and doing this shit. And then she was coming up with this Gabriel stuff because there was a twin at some point, and or something like that. And maybe Gabriel isn't really the twin's name. It's just using that to kind of swerve us. You know what I'm saying? But nope. I was sort of right, sort of wrong. the parasitic thing and the way that it was controlling the brain, and it was like almost like a tumor or whatever the hell is going on. That whole thing with the definition of the word malignant, which I didn't know going into the movie, that was kind of brilliant and kind of or that was actually pretty clever there in my personal opinion. So I know some people online said they saw this all coming a mile away. I didn't predict it verbatim. So for me, it was still a pretty dope reveal and definitely had my jaw on the floor. Because I just did not expect to see that shit. And the whole sequence with it breaking out the back of her dome in the jail thing when they lock up Emily thinking it's her doing it. Oh man, it's just so crazy, yo. And the whole reveal of the backstory, which I don't want to get too much into detail here because it is kind of sensitive, triggering material. So I'll leave that for the comments section and for my fellow horror nerds out there. You know what happened. I'll just leave it there. But the whole backstory of how Emily came to be and why her mother abandoned the kids in the whole first place, and that whole thing going into Gabriel's motivation to want to kill off the mother and the doctors that experimented on her and him, in the sense of removing his body and just stuffing his brain essentially into hers, into her skull or whatever, and just pretty much abandoning them and letting her get to live a life, but Gabriel didn't. And she gets to go on and find a new adoptive family that we meet throughout the film, but Gabriel never got any of that. As far as he's concerned, to everyone else, he is this terrible mistake that they need to get rid of, but Emily got to stick around. So that whole motivation and the way that that actually played out in the film, I thought was actually pretty strong and was one of the best elements of the film. And overall, man, I just don't have too many huge complaints with it, man. Like, it was a fun time. It had a great killer soundtrack and score. That composer, who I think has done some of James Wan's other flicks like Insidious and Conjuring, I don't know his name off the top of my dome. I forgot to do that little research right there. So, on full frontal right there, but it's going to be on the screen like I usually do. But that guy did such a great job with doing the score here and bringing in like a kind of a new rendition of the Pixies' Where's My Mind, but not fully breaking into the breakdown, but kind of going into other musical pieces and stuff like that. I just thought the score was really well done and added a very like fun and like zany and sometimes even like intense element to the scenes, man. And just the cinematography and the way that James Wan shoots this movie is excellent. My boy never really disappoints in the visuals, honestly. He's one of the best visual directors, I think, working today. So I think he definitely delivers there. And yeah, man, I just had a great time with the movie. I like the cast in here for the most part. I think everyone does a good job, a good solid job, bringing their characters to life and doing their thing and working with the script that was given to them and stuff like that. If I have to knock this movie a little bit in a few areas, though, I do think a lot of the action and some of the choreography in the third act gets a little too John Wickish for me. It gets a little too crazy. Like, it's almost like Michael Myers took jujitsu class and a little bit of karate or something, and then just went ham on some cops in a police station and just fucked them up royally. He ain't stabbing niggas. He's breaking arms, doing wrist locks and takedowns and shit like that. Like, it's just crazy, bro. They can't shoot this nigga or nothing, man. Like, when Gabriel's in full control of the body and they're moving backwards and all this shit, it's crazy, man. So I just think the action could have been toned down like 10% or something. It would have made, I think it just would have jived more with the first half of the movie being more of a slasher, supernatural type of thing. I just think it was just a little too crazy Fast and Furious John Wick action mixed in with this movie, which was going more in a dead silence Saw. So it's just kind of blending these things that James Wan's been known for, but I just don't think he executed the perfect blend of those two things merging together. I'm still happy and glad that he did merge action, supernatural, psychological horror with slasher movies with a little bit of giallo, seasoning sprinkled in there. I liked what he was trying to mix together. I just don't think everything came together perfectly or as much as you would hope or like or whatever. But I still think it's an interesting film with a lot of cool influences and things that it's going for. I just don't think it lands all that stuff all the time. And some of the zany, not humor, but some of that but some of the more zany or kind of what's the word I'm looking for, campy, some of those more campy fun elements of the film, while some things really land, other things just kind of miss. So overall, man, minus my few mixed elements and my few negatives of this movie, Malignant is kick ass. I'm definitely gonna own it on that shelf one day because I want to have all the James Wan movies anyway. But this movie is a lot of fun. There's a lot to like here. And like I said, if you just kind of take your own expectations out of the film, strap in, skip the trailers, and just know that you're gonna get the ultimate mixture of James Wan's filmography put into one film that's original while adding in some new things from his own influences that he really enjoys. I think you'll really dig this movie. If you can handle a lot of hyperviolence and some really intense gore and stuff like that, and you don't mind some campy humor and some campy acting here and there, this is for you, man. Like, I'm a big Evil Dead 2 guy. I like Cabin in the Woods, stuff like that. Scream. So I like campy horror movies. I like fun horror comedies. Shaun of the Dead is literally one of my favorite horror films of all time as well. You know what I'm saying? Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. So I like campy. I like fun. I like not taking yourself too seriously. But I also feel sometimes in the movie, very, very seldomly, but they kind of take themselves very seriously. And sometimes it's a little too much mixed in with some of those other cornier elements that he's going for. So I just think the tone and all the overall genres he was mixing together don't always add up to a perfect 10 every single time, but this movie is definitely worth the watch. It is up there as one of my favorite films this year, and I'm definitely going to buy it. I'm definitely going to be rewatching this pretty often, I think. And I think I'm going to give this movie, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's so damn close to a 9, but I can't get it quite all the way there if I'm just being honest and acknowledging some of those flaws. But as a James Wan fan, as a horror fan, I'm satisfied. I like the movie a lot, damn near love it. It's freaking awesome. I definitely recommend all of you check it out there. And while you're checking, after you check out that movie, make sure you come back over here at Fandom Frequency, watch this whole spoiler review, and also check out our 5 on it episode where we do a top 5 ranking of my favorite James Wan films. And he's done 10 movies now, so pretty much splitting it in half right there. So what's in the upper tier, what's in the lower tier? You got to click that little thing up there. Click that. Make sure you check that episode out, y'all. I had a lot of fun making that one. And thank you so much for checking this episode out and for rocking with us, man, for these last 6 months or so. We've been having a lot of fun creating these episodes for y'all and just getting to nerd out and just do something creative and have some fun, man. So much love to all of y'all out there. And stay tuned and don't sleep, y'all. We got a lot of dope content coming at you, and we're only getting started. Halloween's just around the corner, so I got a lot of cool stuff planned for that. Marvel's What If, we ain't forgot about that, y'all. Episodes 4 through 6 review coming real soon on the recap, so stay tuned for that. We got a lot of dope stuff coming, y'all. Very special announcement at the end of the month, so stay tuned. Don't sleep. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Yo, peace.